Not a month goes by without a media outlet in South Australia talking about how Adelaide's architecture is unexciting and boring. In reality, this statement is unexciting and boring, but as it does represent how South Australians view their city and their streetscape, it is worth and is necessary for us to explore this further. And what better place to begin than by talking to some of those that are responsible for designing our skyline. With Gavin Paine of Woods Bagot Architects. Gavin, is architecture in Adelaide boring?
Well, boring is a pretty strong statement. I think those that are saying that, I mean, architecture is a reflection of the society and the culture you live in, so I'd propose the reverse of it. If the architecture is boring, then you're actually saying that everything around us, including us, are boring, and I don't think we are. I mean, I think Adelaideans are resourceful, we're innovative, we're dynamic, and I think some of those words can be used in some of our buildings. No doubt some of them are boring, no doubt some of them are ordinary, but I think it's a bit of an overall generalisation that's not supportable.
So if you accept the argument that the design and architecture in Adelaide is boring, and that's certainly what we read in the paper all the time, how do you change it?
Well, like I think it comes back to leadership again, allowing people to actually push the envelope, and instead of having thinkers in residence, having doers in residence, stop talking about things like Victoria Square, actually make the general public and Joe Public say, wow, they are actually doing something. They're not talking anymore. They are fixing up Victoria Square. They are doing something in the South Bank area. There is leadership. There is something happening from a political level, which will then enable, once those public areas are working and singing, then enables the value of real estate adjoining them to increase in value, and then allows private development to happen. I think the biggest thing about Adelaide is it's a city of lost opportunities. It's actually, instead of looking at saying, is Adelaide architecture exciting or innovative and all that, well, it actually is, because it responds in a very sophisticated and quite often elegant way to very strict series of guidelines.
I think that people tend to get confused when they talk about good architecture. It's not just about designing iconic buildings like the Gherkin in London or the Burj in Dubai. Buildings and architecture are part of the living social fabric that builds communities. Buildings aren't just a place for people to work, live and play. They are part of the entire streetscape. And just look at the urban design and the urban outcomes that have been created in Weymouth Street, for example, as a consequence of Tower 1 and Tower 2, and the energy that they've brought not just to the street, but also the precinct, and in fact the city as a whole. There is often a criticism that contemporary architecture in South Australia dictates the dominance of these so-called glass boxes. Indeed, our former Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Alexander Downer, recently criticised the multi-award-winning SA Water building in Victoria Square, asking why we couldn't build something more like the Musée de Quai Branly in Paris with its living green wall. There's no question that a building like this would add to the urban environment. But would you prefer to work in a building providing endless natural light and excellent airflow, or one that restricts natural light? Would you prefer your workplace make a positive contribution to the natural environment, or just add to our climate change problem? These are the new questions being added to the debate on what constitutes good design. Public commentary seems to fail to understand the need to design for uses, and it also seems to fail to understand that somebody actually has to pay for it. And public commentary fails to recognise that the development plan for the Adelaide City Council doesn't actually encourage innovation and design. So even if you designed Adelaide's version of the Gherkin something new and exciting, it would still struggle to get approval. And why can't we do something interesting, such as this Parisian example, with our heritage buildings? Outcomes that can add excitement without destroying our built heritage. So do I think that Adelaide's architecture and design is boring? Not on your life. What we've got are some fine examples of good contemporary architecture that are fit for purpose and that are activating entire areas of our CBD. These buildings have brought back to Adelaide a sense of verve, a sense of vibrancy. Indeed, I'd say they've brought back Adelaide's mojo, something that we have sorely missed out on over the last 5 to 10 years.